Something replaced my dog last night. Pepper had always slept on the right side of my bed, curled against my leg. 7 years since I'd rescued the black lab mix from the shelter, and not once had he broken this routine. But last night I woke at 3:17 a.m. to find him standing at the foot of my bed, staring. Just staring. His silhouette was unmistakable in the dim glow of my alarm clock, but something about his posture seemed wrong. Too rigid, too tall. "Pepper," I whispered, reaching for the lamp. He didn't respond with his usual tail wag or soft whine. He remained perfectly still as light flooded the room. That's when I noticed his eyes. They caught the lamplight and reflected back with an amber glow I'd never seen before. Not the warm brown I knew, but something else. Something that seemed to swallow the light rather than reflect it. "Come here, boy," I called, patting the mattress. He cocked his head at an unnatural angle as if my words required interpretation. Then, with deliberate movements, he climbed onto the bed. His nails clicked against the wooden floor differently, sharper, like tiny knives rather than the blunt tapping I was accustomed to. He settled next to me, but not in his usual spot, not curled up, but sitting upright, watching. I reached out to pet him, and his fur felt wrong. Still black, still sleek, but somehow coarser, drier. When my fingers brushed his neck, I couldn't find the small scar from his surgery last year. "What's wrong, boy?" I asked, anxiety creeping into my voice. He blinked slowly. Too slowly. I must have eventually fallen back asleep because the next thing I knew, morning light was streaming through the blinds. Pepper was gone from the bed, which wasn't unusual. He typically woke before me, waiting patiently by his food bowl. I found him in the kitchen, sitting perfectly centered on the tile, equidistant from all four walls. Not by his bowl, not scratching at the back door to go out. Just waiting. "Morning, Pep," I said, forcing cheer into my voice. "Ready for breakfast?" His head swiveled toward me with mechanical precision. He made no sound, no hungry whine, no pattering of paws. Pepper had always danced excitedly at the mention of food. I filled his bowl with kibble. He approached only after I stepped away, and then ate methodically, each piece consumed with identical movements, his eyes never leaving me. "What's gotten into you?" I murmured. My phone buzzed with a reminder. Pepper's annual vet appointment at 10 a.m. Perfect timing. Dr. Levine would figure out what was wrong. The drive to the vet was silent. Pepper had always hung his head out the window, tongue lolling joyfully in the wind. Today, he sat perfectly centered on the back seat, eyes fixed forward, body unnaturally still despite the car's movement. In the waiting room, he didn't sniff the other dogs or wag his tail at the receptionist who always slipped him treats. He sat precisely at my feet, gaze tracking each movement around the room with predatory focus. "Pepper!" called the vet tech. We followed her to the exam room. Dr. Levine entered moments later, his familiar smile fading as he observed Pepper. "How's our boy today?" he asked, approached cautiously. "Something's wrong," I said, relieved to finally voice my concerns. "Since last night, he's been different." Dr. Levine stretched his hand toward Pepper, who remained motionless. The vet's fingers hovered inches from Pepper's nose. Any normal dog would sniff, lick, or at least acknowledge the gesture. Pepper did nothing. "Let's check him out," Dr. Levine said, voice carefully neutral. The examination proceeded with Pepper displaying none of his usual resistance to having his ears checked or temperature taken. He allowed each procedure with unnerving compliance. "His physical condition seems fine, Doctor," Levine said finally, "though his temperature is slightly below normal. Has he experienced any trauma recently? Changes in routine?" I shook my head. "Nothing unusual until last night." Dr. Levine leaned close, examining Pepper's eyes with his penlight. "His pupillary response is atypical," he murmured. "And I don't see the cataract we noted beginning to form last year." My mouth went dry. "What does that mean?" The vet straightened, his expression professionally blank. "I'd like to run some tests. Blood work, maybe an MRI." "Of course," I agreed. "Whatever it takes." Dr. Levine stepped closer to me, lowering his voice. This might sound strange, but are you certain this is Pepper? The question hit me like a physical blow. I stared at the black dog sitting unnaturally still on the examination table. Same size, same markings, same white patch on his chest. But everything else, the movements, the behaviors, the essence of him was wrong. I think so, I stammered. Who else could it be? Dr. Levine's eyes met mine, concern evident. I've been practicing for 20 years, and sometimes animals change when they're ill, but this is different. He hesitated, then added, What happened to the small scar on his neck from last year's surgery? I swallowed hard. I couldn't find it this morning. The test revealed nothing conclusive. Blood work showed unusual cellular structures the lab couldn't identify. The MRI displayed normal anatomy, but with subtle differences in brain structure that Dr. Levine couldn't explain. Keep him under observation, he advised as we left. Call me immediately if anything changes. That night I couldn't sleep. I watched as the creature that wasn't Pepper paced my bedroom with mechanical precision, exactly 3 steps in each direction, turning at perfect right angles, over and over. At 3:17 a.m. it stopped and stared at me. What are you? I whispered. What happened to my dog? It tilted its head, that same unnatural angle from the night before. Then, for the first time since this nightmare began, its mouth opened, not in a pant or a yawn, but deliberately, as if testing the mechanism. No sound emerged, but its jaws stretched wider than any dog should, revealing rows of teeth that receded impossibly far into its throat. Too many teeth. Teeth that seemed to shift and rearrange as I watched. I scrambled backward against the headboard, heart hammering. The thing that wasn't Pepper closed its mouth with a soft click. It blinked once, then resumed its pacing. 3 steps. Perfect turn, 3 steps. In the morning, I found it waiting in the center of the kitchen again. A small, dead bird lay at its feet. No marks, no blood, no signs of how it had died. Just lifeless, like something had been extracted from it. My phone buzzed. A text from my neighbor. Hey, have you seen my cat? Gray Tabby went missing last night. I looked up from the phone to find not Pepper watching me, its eyes now slightly too large for its skull, its posture too erect. Something stirred behind those eyes, something observing, learning, adapting, and I realized with growing horror, whatever had replaced my dog wasn't finished becoming.